Hello, I'm Bruce Belfiore, and I'm here with Pam Roddy, Senior Director of Contact Center Operations at MAXIMUS Boston, to talk with you about ongoing management issues as we move through the COVID pandemic. Pam Roddy has over 20 years of experience in the contact center field, and both in the private sector and the government sector, both domestically and internationally. So she brings a lot of experience and a lot of good tips and insights. She was also one of the panelists on our coronavirus town hall that we had earlier this year, and which you can find on our website if you're interested in taking a look at that. So many of the insights from that town hall came from Pam. So it's really great to have you with us, Pam.
Thanks, Bruce. It's a pleasure to be here.
We just finished recording a lively, informative CallTalk podcast episode on this topic, which you can access via the link below. This is what I call a video CallTalk caramel that hits some highlights of the CallTalk podcast. So Pam, there were a lot of really good points made during the CallTalk podcast. We talked about a bunch of different things, including the importance of the people, process, and technology. So I was wondering if you could just kind of reprise for us some of the things that you talked about with regard to adapting a former in-office operation, which your operation was, totally in office, downtown Boston, beautiful location and view, but where people had to come in on public transportation.
Sure, Bruce. So as you said, as we look at any of our operation, I always look at the three pillars of people, process, and technology. So of course, at the heart of any call center are our people. And one of the things that we understand about the remote environment is that people really need more communication and interaction than they had even in the office. So how do you do that? And so what we really spent some time bringing in and establishing as our normal operating procedures is these daily communication methods with supervisors and their agents. And really based on a communication plan where you touch base every day with your staff, you have more frequent team meetings, and you use your tools like chat and virtual meetings to really ensure that you are giving the people the feedback and that they need to still be part of that team and be productive.
Some of the things that you learned from the people, process, and technology review that you did, could you share those with us? Because there's some, I think, real jewels in there that could help our audience with the things that they face today.
Sure. So there were some really common threads about what people need. And they certainly need more communication, as we just spoke about, and more recognition. They have a real fear of losing touch and invisibility. So increase your recognition and awards, and that's more shout-outs at team meetings. Look for how you can do rewards. Maybe you can't do a pizza party, but you can send Grubhub meals to someone's home. You can have contests still, and we sent out backpacks full of personal safety stuff, hand sanitizer, disposable wipes, things like that people were thrilled to get. Grocery store credits is another thing that people have really recognized. So increasing those rewards. The other thing is really important is to prepare your supervisors for this.
Yeah, supervisors are always key. So tell us what you did with them, Pam.
So just like, I've been watching, I have a lot of friends that are in the education system, and they've really had to go back for retraining. Not that they didn't know how to teach, but teaching in this environment has caused them to pivot. So it gave us pauses. What do our supervisors need? So we've brought them in for more training. Some of them needed technology training. They all did. How do you run a Zoom meeting? And that gives supervisors the confidence that they need to really be there for their teams. We also changed our ratios. We found that the 15-to-1 ratio that we've always sustained was too large. So we brought that down almost by half with some of our teams.
So one of the best investments that you can make, in fact, is to decrease that ratio and make sure that there's more supervisorial support, surveys and polling in terms of your people. Tell us about that.
It's been a really great tool, and like anything, you need a full toolbox, right, to be effective. So we talk to supervisors about meetings, about one-on-one, even sending people text messages. Good morning, how are you today? But one of the key areas that we've gotten some of our most useful information is by doing surveys. And that way we're able to really understand at the aggregate level, what are the trends that are happening that we need to address? What are the most common issues and obstacles? And then also by polling people during like a town hall meeting, you get immediate reaction, immediate response, and the benefit is it keeps people engaged. If they're sitting there, and they're just listening, it's so easy to pick up your phone, get distracted. But if you're polling people every few minutes about what they're thinking, you get that initial reaction and you get a level of engagement. So a win-win there, Bruce.
Yeah, no, important. And so that means also it may have an impact on the tool that you decide to use for those meetings, because if you have Zoom or something like that with the polling feature, then you can utilize that. You can bring it right in. And as you say, it has the dual impact of keeping people on their toes, because they never know if they're going to be asked to do a polling thing, right?
Right.
And on the other hand, it makes them feel part of the organization, part of the meeting, because they are. I know that you've used the CSR task force actually for a long time. And how does that really come to the fore and been particularly useful in this period of time?
A CSR task force has been an invaluable component of our success as a call center. The voice of the agent, the voice from that call center floor, or now the virtual floor, has provided leadership with so much information. And now more than ever, we've used that task force to really keep us honest about, are we communicating enough? Do you have what you need? And has ensured that there's a level of engagement with the CSRs and they feel that they have a voice at a time when things seem so out of control and chaotic.
So important to have that connection. And I know that you also have used the mentoring and buddy systems. Can you just say a couple words about that?
So especially for new people, you think about when you come in and we were in the office welcoming people, making them feel like, what is it to be part of a MAXIMUS team? So now we've been trying, how do we continue to do that? And giving a new agent, a veteran agent, to be their buddy and their mentor, and to help them along those first critical 3 to 6 months is so important. And they're going to share things with each other that they wouldn't necessarily share with a supervisor at a town hall. So it's a best practice, and you can do it virtually. And honestly, I think it's even more important in the virtual environment, especially for new people.
Yeah. So, I mean, we talk about when somebody comes in during a normal period of time for onboarding, open arms, right? You should be welcoming with open arms, make sure that they feel that they're part of everything. Here, you can't do that. So it's got to be more open communications, open electronics instead of an open arm. And
that's right.
Arms, and that's what you have to do. And it's important on the acculturation part too, because really you're setting the table. And you and I have talked about how video, for instance, that basically you may want, as a contact center manager, to come up with a new onboarding video that really hits home on things that you talk about during onboarding, but with a remote type of situation need to be really put on the table very clearly. Set the table with your values, with your mission statement, with the things that are important to you. And just so that when somebody comes away from that onboarding video or videos, they have an idea of what it is that you are expecting from them and what they can expect as being part of your organization. And then the things you do, you have to walk the walk and talk the talk, but you've already set the table and it makes it easier.
That's right. So important. And we've taken a fresh look at those videos, and we've also enhanced the amount of videos that are available to people. So we've really loaded up our remote learning so that, and put fun things in there too, like videos about, how do you, working from home, and just, there's a lot of stuff out there that you can pull into your own catalog that really just enhance that whole experience. So a whole section just on wellness, for example. So that we're walking the talk about, we care about you as an individual. And here's a whole bunch of stuff about wellness.
Right. And I understand that you even have meditation sessions. Right?
We do. So it's important to engage people in things other than work socially. Yeah. So scheduling the opportunity to join social sessions like a meditation group or a club online, like a book club, has been important as well.
Other things that you've talked about too is the importance of workforce management and making sure that they can introduce the flexibility that may be needed now in terms of your children, and as well, taking care of older parents, that sort of thing. Because those older parents who perhaps were going off to the community center on a daily basis aren't anymore because of fears of COVID. So really, so many people's worlds have been turned upside down. What are some of your thoughts on that and things you've done?
Yeah, so more than ever, people need structure. They need to know what's expected of them, and that that gives us all a sense of normalcy. But on the same time, they need more flexibility than ever because of all the things you just mentioned. So the WFM tool, and really understanding the functionality that these tools have, and it may be time to even ramp up, because what they can do is they can allow you to give people flexible work schedules and yet still manage your capacity. And so without a robust workforce management tool, you're not going to be able to balance both the individual flexibility, but also make sure that you're meeting of course, your customer demand. Right. We've had a lot of people reduce their total hours of work, but I'd rather have people for 30 solid hours than to expect people for 40 hours and have really, high absenteeism or low productivity. Right. So reassessing that, and your workforce management tool can really do that. Yeah. Call forecasting is really challenging right now too. Mm-hmm. A lot of the call trends, the time of day people call, the frequency of which, very great big variations.
Yes, no, and we find that people want to talk to us about those issues too, in terms of the workforce management and the intraday things and the issues that come up with, okay, so we have made these adjustments, which means that we had to bump a whole lot of people from their coaching sessions because they had to be on the phones. And now manually we have to do all this other stuff. Well, there are, solutions, ways of helping that and actually doing a lot of good things for your people and for your workforce management functions. So, and what about knowledge management? You were mentioning that as well during our CallTalk episode.
Yes, so hopefully people have established a good knowledge management system, because if you're remote, you really need that. And if not, it's never too late. There's great tools out there now that can take information and put it into electronic formats really quickly. But we've enhanced that since we went remote with a virtual agent type of feature. So our CSRs are all participating in a chat every day with their supervisor. It's their way to ask questions, to escalate calls. But the supervisors were finding it overwhelming with the amount of questions they were having to answer. So what the virtual agent does is it automatically interfaces with our knowledge management center and answers those questions for the CSR and shows them exactly in the knowledge management system where they can find that information. So, kind of teaches them to fish a little bit rather than just handing it to them, frees our supervisors up, and not a huge investment when you look at the value that you get from it.
Are there any other final considerations you'd like to share with us before we wrap up this CallTalk caramel?
No, just I think overall people are falling into a couple of different camps. There are people that really like working from home and doing well there and are hoping that they can sustain it. But there are other people that are struggling, and they're finding that it's isolating, and that they miss the office environment, or that they just they're, for whatever personal reasons. And so it's really important to understand what camp people fall into, and to they're going to need different things from you to be productive at home, whether it be a temporary situation or a permanent.
Well, very good. Thank you so much for staying on and doing this. Any final things you'd like to say before we say goodbye to our audience?
No, not that I can think of, other than don't be afraid to ask people what they need. It's overwhelming for all of us right now, but don't wait to find out what people need, or feel like that you have to wait till things are at a certain level of stabilization. Ask often, and you know, don't feel like you have to be perfect either. Nobody out there is doing this 100% perfectly right now. We're all learning as we're going.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Bruce.